All right, guys, I have a quick question for you. Have you played Mistweaver recently and just felt like it's lacking, like it's just a shell of what it used to be? Well, welcome to Conspiracy Hour with Chris, because that's all I can think about lately. And I actually have quite the conspiracy that I might convince you of. Mistweaver Monk is being ruined, and all of its good stuff is being given to Shaman. Now, before we get too deep down the rabbit hole, before I whip out the tinfoil hats, I really quickly want to say that this video is all in jest. Like, I am just having fun, kind of sharing an opinion in a more fun way than normal. I don't think Blizzard is intentionally ruining Mistweaver. I really do have a lot of faith in the Mistweaver devs and the WoW devs in general. However, who do I blame for the ruining of Mistweaver monks? Resto Shamans. Like I said, this video is kind of joking. But when I say kind of, I mean that I actually have some proof. Like, I'm not just making some false claims, like pulling them out of my butt, pulling them out of left field. I actually have some reasons why I'm blaming all of Shamans for the ruining of Mistweaver. Or I say ruining, Mistweaver's still fun because Mistweaver's just fun. But all of the good stuff that Mistweaver has is being taken from Mistweaver and given to Resto Shaman. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
I think the proper way to start off this rant video is to kind of explain where it came from. Why did these thoughts spawn in my head? Well, it didn't come out of just anywhere. I've been playing a lot of Resto Shaman, as you guys know. I've been doing a series where I take all the healers to 3K, and recently I worked on the Resto Shaman. And as I was playing it, I was having a ton of fun, and a lot of very notable mechanics were sticking out to me as things that I was enjoying. Now, I did a lot of rating, a lot of Mythic Plus, and a lot of things popped out to me. And the more and more that I played it, the more familiar these mechanics became. The reasons why I was enjoying Resto Shaman were very familiar as reasons that I previously enjoyed Mistweaver. Allow me to explain. And we're going to start off very basic. We're going to start off with the tier set. The tier set was the first thing to really stick out for me, and I'm specifically talking about the Farseer Shaman, Resto Shaman tier set. And whenever you cast Ancestral Swiftness, you spawn a little ancestor that's going to help you heal. You also, in the raid build, which I played a lot of raiding, which is where a lot of this stuff became very prevalent in my mind. In the raid build, you play Undulation, so that, well, I guess I can't show you. Oh, every third healing wave or healing surge heals for an additional 50%. That will also spawn an ancestor. So all of these things, like having these ancestors healing beside me, kind of triggered something in my mind that was like, oh, this kind of reminds me back of when Mistweavers had the Fallen Order monks. You guys probably remember if you played back in Shadowlands, we had the Fallen Order monks who would sit there and spam Enveloping Mist and Soothing Mist and heal alongside us and help us fight. It was a really sick cooldown. Now, I was a big fan of this cooldown. A lot of people didn't like it, but I was a big fan of it. And you'll probably notice in this footage, watch the cooldown of Fallen Order. This was a tier set back in the day where your Fallen Order monks, whenever you would crit, it did have an internal cooldown, but whenever you crit, it would shave some time off of the cooldown of Fallen Order. So it wasn't really a 3 minute cooldown. It was more so like a 1 minute 20-ish second cooldown, which is, lo and behold, the reason why this was removed from the game, because you can't have this much passive healing that you have nothing to do with other than pressing one button exist at such a low cooldown, right? That is why it was kind of removed from Mistweaver. I'm sure there were plenty of other reasons, but that's kind of the main takeaways. It was removed because it was such a low cooldown. It's healing that you press a button, you spawn these little dudes, they help you heal for their duration. So yeah, you can probably see why this felt very familiar when talking about the Resto Shaman tier set, because that is very similar, and especially with Farseer, with how many shamans or little ancestors you're summoning, you get a lot of value out of this. Now, like I said earlier, one of the big reasons why the Venthyr monks, the Fallen Order monks, were so frowned upon were because it was such a low cooldown, such a great uptime on just more passive throughput that really had nothing to do with what you were doing. And one of my biggest gripes with that reasoning, which I kind of just, that's just what I took away when they first removed it, is at the time I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. That does make sense. Having that much passive throughput from this little NPC helping you heal is kind of bonkers, and that uptime was crazy. But then come to 2025, welcome. It's 2025, by the way. These ancestors go absolutely crazy. They basically do a lot of very similar healing. They sit there and spam casts with you. But what's crazy is the uptime. With undulation, you can have multiple out if your haste is high enough, meaning that just as Venthyr monks were broken due to the amount of haste that you have scaling, the amount of crit that you have in haste scaling, how much you can shave off their cooldown, your haste scales how much value you can get from something like undulation spawning more ancestors. You can have multiple ones overlap with each other and absolutely go ham. On top of that, Mythic Plus, you're taking Unleash Life, which is like a 15-second cooldown, which then spawns a 15-second ancestor. I guess it's 12 and oh, it's 15 if you take another talent. So yeah, basically in Mythic Plus, you have a perma ancestor. So that kind of got me asking. That kind of got me on this thought train of if Venthyr monks, if Fallen Order monks were way too powerful, and took a lot of the steam out of your sails and a lot of the fun away from the spec, what really makes Resto Shamans Fallen Order monks much different? And although this, mind you, this is the least example that I have to show you guys today of all the cool stuff that has shifted from Mistweaver to Resto Shaman. So all of a sudden, here's my tinfoil hat. Fallen Order monks just became the ancestors, right? They're just the ancestors. Okay, so that's just example number one, and that is, like I said, the smallest example.
And some of you might think that I'm crazy for saying this. Well, you're wrong. I'm not crazy.
Now, still staying on top of this tier set, let's look at what else it does. While you have this buff after you Ancestral Swiftness, which is a 30-second cooldown, mind you, it's a 30-second cooldown. After you do that, you gain 8 seconds of 25% of a lot of stuff, but one of those things is the mana cost of your spells. Now, if you haven't really paid attention to mana costs of spells lately, I don't blame you. Who in their right mind cares a ton about how the mana bars look on different healers? Me. I'm that person, okay? So let me show you just a random kill. This was a bad pool of mine, and this is our mana bar. This is literally what mana bars look like for monks nowadays. This is not the best pool of mine, but this is a pretty average pool if you look at a lot of the monks' pools. So I'm showing the resources. I'm showing the mana. This is my mana across a fight, and I don't even know what fight this was. Soulbinder, Nazin, yeah. So my mana hits 0% multiple times, and then I have to chug mana tea to try to dig myself up out of this hole. It's insane. We are literally, this is the meme of that girl drowning because I'm out of mana and struggling to swim up to the surface, right? Our mana is abysmal. And it didn't used to be like this. Our mana used to be incredible. If you remember back when they introduced Mana Tea, our mana was very, very good. In fact, a lot of people thought it was broken. It probably was in its first few iterations. But since those days, they have really, really gutted Mana Tea. Let's take a look at Resto Shaman. I think Resto Shaman has had some very bad mana, iterations with their chain heal builds, and I was advocating for those builds to get mana buffs. Like I think that mana should not have been as bad as this is. But this is what modern day Resto Shaman mana bars look like, and mind you, this parse that I showed you of mine was pretty mid. This parse that I'm about to show you is one of the highest HPS Shaman kills. So yeah, you would think they're just non-stop casting, which they are. They're non-stop casting. They don't dip below like 70, 80%. Like this is unreal. Look, it's literally night and day. It's literally night and day. So you're probably like, why am I even talking about this? Well, um, like I said, Manatee has seen a ton of gutting because it does something very similar to this tier set. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Manatee for us Mistweavers, we use it to shave mana costs off of very expensive spells like Yulon, like Enveloping Mist, like Vivify. Very, very expensive spells. The Resto Shaman build right now, which it's not y'all's fault if you're a Resto Shaman player, the Shaman build right now is very heavily casting two spells. You got Riptide and you got Healing Wave. You'll notice we got 93 Riptides, 90 Healing Waves. How much mana does Healing Wave cost? 2.5 base% mana. 2.5. Mind you, let's look at this healing. Vivify costs 3% base mana. Enveloping Mist 4.2% base mana. 3 and 4.2. Now you're probably like, oh well, 3% is very close to Healing Wave's 2.5%. Why are you so upset? Like, what's the big deal, right? Well, let me find it. I have patch notes here. Okay, you'll notice that in the same patch notes, this look, I dug this one out of the grave. Okay, this is patch notes from who knows when, so don't think this is like, oh, these are the patch notes coming. It's 11.1. Okay, but I just thought this was hilarious because in the same exact patch notes, Manatee gave you less mana back as a Mistweaver monk, and in the same, if you scroll down just a little bit, Shamans, oh, what happens? Healing Wave went from 3, the same amount as Vivify, down to 2.5% of your base mana. So all of a sudden they're like, oh, Healing Wave, that costs too much. 3%, let's bring it down to 2.5. That's crazy. No, nothing should cost 2.5 that you cast that off. They didn't even cast it that often back in the day, right? So Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Okay, what else? This on the same token, I feel like I'm that meme of Charlie Day, like with the board, showing like all of his crazy conspiracies, and I am. Okay, I'm literally drawing strings between all these crazy things. Here's another patch note that I literally dug from 6 feet underneath where that one was dug under. So Mystery Monk, this is from way back when. This is back when they first nerfed the initial iteration of Manatee. So Manatee used to give you a lot more mana back, and it used to give you a much better mana reduction effect on its mana reduction effect. It used to say, hey, while you have Manatee, after you sip your Manatee for X amount of seconds, you're gonna gain 50% cost reduction. Which, yes, it was very strong at 50%, but they gutted it down to 25. So they said, look, this is twice as strong as it should be. You guys should be spending 75% of your of the mana cost of these spells to be on par with where you're supposed to be mana wise. On top of that, months later, we're also gonna make your Manatee give you less mana back. So they said, basically, this is way more than twice as strong as what it should be. Um, what the heck? What the heck, dude? Let me cast my spells and not sit here wondering if I'm literally going from paycheck to paycheck, except the paychecks are, man, I can't even find it. What was I doing? What am I doing? I'm going crazy. Resource. I'm going resource. I went to casts. Okay, I'm literally living paycheck to paycheck, except the paychecks are Manatee. Do something, okay? I get it. Okay, I get it. Really quick, we're going to take a quick little sidebar. I understand why they always find these pretty numbers because a lot of times the pretty numbers are right, right? And it's like, they're humans too. They're trying to find the best fit. Like, I get why they cut things in half, why they shave things down by a percent, by these pretty numbers. But I think it's okay to say, hey, we cut the mana reduction from 50 down to 25 way back when. Maybe that was overdoing it. Maybe we overcorrected. Let's adjust in the other direction. Maybe not all the way back up to 50 again. But let's meet it right down in the middle. Like, I don't know, 42.5. Something in the middle, right? Like, just meet me in, that's not even in the middle. Meet me in the middle, okay? Just meet me in the middle. So that's just another thing is the mana. The mana is a disaster, and while we're sitting here drowning, they're living life, okay? And you know what? More power to the shamans. I'm not saying that shaman needs to change. Notice that my words are that Mistweaver needs to change, okay? Just want to get that point out there. So we've talked about the Fallen Order monks becoming the ancestors. We've talked about Manatee becoming their tier set, and the mana efficiency becoming shaman. But next up, I want to talk about probably the most egregious one. You know what? Before we get to that one, let's talk about another one. Yeah, that's right. I have another one just on cue in case I wanted to talk about it. We are going to talk about tier sets. And I'm actually, I've talked about Shaman tier set enough. Let's talk about the Master of Harmony Monk tier set. And this is just one example that is kind of like a microcosm of a bigger issue with Mistweaver Monk, okay? When you take a look at a Mistweaver Monk in a key and a Shaman in a key, the Shaman, if you know a damage mechanic's going to come up, you probably press your cooldown like Ascendance. you'll probably press a cloud burst, you'll probably do some things to kind of like prep for it. But really what you're going to do to enhance yourself is press your ascendance and press your ancestral swiftness to gain that 25% boosted healing. So you're pressing like one button, you're doing one click to get 25% more healing. That's awesome. You are buffing yourself. Much like how if you take I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I do, but I don't know how to say it. So you're pressing one button to buff yourself. Whereas Mistweaver monks, nowadays, if they want to get the full value of the tier set, the harmonic surges, the big AoE proc healing, or even their Shalen's gift, for example, if you want to get full value out of your healing spells in Mythic Plus, this isn't even in Raid, this is just in Mythic Plus, you need Enveloping Mist on all of your party, basically at least the squishies, because you need that 40%. It doesn't say it here, but your Enveloping Mist plus this Talent Mist Wrap makes whoever you have Enveloping Mist on, your healing is boosted by 40%. And then if you're casting those Enveloping Mist, they're getting a further 25%. So you need to blanket your party in Enveloping Mist so that your healing spells actually do their scaled to do's worth of healing. Because our spells, if they did the amount of healing, like if our tier set did the amount of healing per proc that it was supposed to, and if these modifiers didn't exist and this proc just did its full healing no matter what, even if you didn't have Envelop Mist on, then that's the number that things are balanced to, right? They're not going to introduce a healing spell into the game, then introduce ways that you can enhance how much healing that spell does, by like up to like doubling it, which isn't the case here. But like imagine they introduced like a new healer, they gave it the spell revival, and then they said, hey, if you press this one spell before you press revival, that revival will do 10 times the healing. Okay, this is just a big example to kind of get my point across. They clearly would balance revival in such a way to where if you did make it 10 times the healing, then it would be balanced. And then that would thus make the non 10 times version, if you just press revival without pressing that button beforehand, very weak, relatively weak, low budgeted, because it's balanced in a way to where you're balancing things around their maximum effectiveness. So all that to say, if you want to just play the game and survive heal checks and high end keys, you need to do this ridiculous ramp where you cast 4 Enveloping Mists, a Thunder Focus Tea somewhere in there, and get a Rising Sun kick. So you're basically ramping 7 seconds before literally every damage instance, like versus some boss fights. And it's exhausting because that's boring. You're not doing damage, you're not fist weaving, quote. You're not doing anything other than casting Enveloping Mist, and that's boring. And then what's your big payoff? Freaking Tiger Palm. Freaking Tiger Palm, which is cool. Okay, I'll give it that. But it's pretty cool that your payoff is Tiger Palm. But the point here that I'm making, I'm sorry, I got way sidetracked, is think of ancient teachings for monks versus discipline priests. And yeah, you guessed it, we are throwing a stray at discipline priests because I don't think they got enough last season, okay? Think about ancient teachings versus atonement, okay? Say that you're in a Mythic Plus group and pretend that Power Word Radiance did not exist, okay? Ancient teachings, us Mistweaver monks, we press J Fire Stomp, we get the buff J Fire teachings. Now that's it. That's all you do. You press one button, you get the buff. But for atonement, in a world where Radiance doesn't exist, you have to cast like a Flash Shield, Power Word Shield, or a Renew on 5 different targets to first give them atonement, and then you actually get to heal them, right? So it's like these exhausting, boring, just like not unreasonably, but just like for no reason, these ramps cost more globals, more setup time than they should when other healers don't have to worry about that, right? Other healers just get to do one thing. So the reason why I'm bringing up Radiance is because that example, imagine Radiance didn't exist, but we live in a world where Radiance does exist, okay? We live in a world where Resto Shamans get the full buff by pressing one button. So why doesn't Mistweaver? I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but why doesn't Mistweaver? And I know the reasons, Yulon, but why doesn't Mistweaver have a button? Say it's like a replacement for revival. Okay, I would legitimately take this as a replacement for revival. Um, and I guess restoral. a button where you press it. It's a single global. Maybe you have to cast it for like 2 seconds, but it just applies an enveloping mist to everyone in your party. And then, boom, that's one button that makes your spells actually do their full amount of healing, what they're actually budgeted for, what they're actually balanced for. And it works just like Radiance, where it's like one button to apply Atonement to everyone, one button to apply Enveloping Mist to everyone, one button to apply your healing buff to yourself. Like, why doesn't that exist for Mistweaver? Why? I feel like as a Mistweaver player, look, I spend so much time on all the others, but specifically Mistweaver. And once again, I'm really quick. I want to say I'm not shooting, like, I'm not mad at the devs. I know that they clearly work very hard and have created such a game and such an amazing spec in that game, and multiple amazing specs in the game, to where, trust me, I'm not like upset at the devs because I'm just ranting at the state of things. And I know, God, I don't know how to say this, it's not the devs that I'm upset with. Trust me. It's just the state of things and how everything's kind of the trending, how things are trending. Okay, um, where was I? Yeah, we need our own radiance. Okay, we need a button that just slaps enveloping mist on everyone, so that way we don't have to sit there and cast 5 enveloping mists in a row, 4 enveloping mists in a row in a Mythic Plus dungeon. It's boring. It's old. It's tiring. Yes, like I said, if that spell did exist, it would be kind of ridiculous with Yulon in a raid environment. So maybe it's, I don't even know. Maybe you can't take it with Yulon or something. I don't know. Maybe it's on a triple node, the first ever triple node. Whoa, it's 2025. We're evolving. The first triple node with Chi-Ji, Yulon, and uh, more powerful word enveloping mist. I feel like that's a pretty good name for it, right? More powerful word enveloping mist. Boom. Okay, so look, I've ranted a bunch. Hopefully I've kind of shown you guys that some of these things are have some of the good that existed in Monk was no longer allowed to exist in Monk and thus given to Resto Shaman. Hopefully I've convinced you of that so far. If not, I've just looked like a madman. Either way, I'm okay with it. Okay, I don't care. But the most like damning evidence of this claim, of this conspiracy, right? This joking conspiracy is, you probably guessed it, invigorating mists. Now, this has been a staple in Mistweaver Monk's builds since I don't even know when. Can't remember when it was added because it's just such a staple, right? At least all of Dragonflight. So what this says is Vivify will heal whenever you vivify a target. It will proc a heal on anyone with Renewing Mist. It's reduced beyond 5 targets. It didn't always used to have that last little caveat. It used to just say whenever you vivify, it would heal all of your Renewing Mist for 100,000, like some number amount of healing, and it would. So then you as a player, if you start out day one as a Mistweaver Monk being like pretty mid, then day 25 you're really good at this spec. You could then have a more average renewing mist on your raid. You've improved, you have more renewing mist to show for it because you're just better at your rotation, and thus you're paid off, you're rewarded for getting or by getting more invigorating mist healing. However, of course, we can't have that. Mistweavers can't have that, so let's square root scale that sucker. So now Invigorating Mist, if you have more than 5 Renewing Mists out, it just does weaker per target healing. So it's like, okay, sure, you know what? I'll exist in this timeline, and I'll be fine with it, because what else can I do? Can I come on the internet and put on a tinfoil hat and make a stupid video that's gone on way too long? Yes, I can. The reason why I'm bringing this up, you probably already know it. It's not like I'm unveiling the most top secret of secrets. Whispering mother freaking waves. Whispering waves is a talent. This is the one that Resto Shamans play around. 15% of healing waves healing from you and your ancestors, just to rub salt in the freaking wound. Just rub. Oh, it's disgusting. And your ancestors is duplicated onto each of your targets with Riptide. That sounds familiar, right? That sounds pretty dang familiar. So, if you have, say, like 20 Riptides out on your raid, and you cast a healing wave, if you have an ancestor, that ancestor will also cast a healing wave. Then 15% of your healing wave's healing will be duplicated on all of your Riptides uncapped. And, some amount of that percent will also be duplicated from your ancestor's healing. So now, all of a sudden, Mistweaver's invigorating this. That's too good. That's way too good. But also, Venthyr Fallen Order monks. That's way too good. So you know what? Let's slap them both together, punch Chris in the face, and just and create whispering waves. Couple it with the freaking ancestor healing. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this ancestor healing. By the way, this breakdown. I'm pointing. I don't even know what I'm. By the way, I'm pointing. I'm just pointing at my closet. Whispering waves healing from the ancestor. This is the ancestors healing on that one shaman pool. The ancestors procking whispering waves is doing disgusting cleave healing, and also their healing waves are healing for a ton. Am I the only one? Maybe it's because I haven't posted the video yet. Hopefully, at least one other person out there wants to join my conspiracy fan club. But right now, I feel like an actual crazy person with like all these strings on the wall. You can't see it, but I have a bulletin board here, and it just like points from like me to insanity. And I feel like I'm alone on this. So I had to make this video. I had to, or else I feel like I've already lost it. Clearly, I've already lost it. But I just had to make this video because I had to get this point across. I feel like I couldn't just like say it unless I made a full video on it. So hopefully you guys got a laugh at either my expense. I'll take it, you know. But hopefully I've convinced some of you guys. And now, by the way, I really hope the worst outcome for this would be for like the shaman community to take offense to this. I'm not calling you if you're a shaman out, or if you know, I'm not calling shamans out. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying Mistweaver is trending downward in terms of how many people want to play it, and there's a reason, because all the cool toys are getting taken away from it, and they just happen to show up in y'all's hands. I'm not saying y'all stole them, just saying they just happen to show up in your hands. But guys, thank you for watching this one. Comment below what you think. Comment below if you agree with me, or if you have even more evidence, or if maybe I, went a little too far. I don't know. Just, boost the algorithm, because I feel like more people than just my own, the voices in my head need to see this video, I think. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe on your way out. Hit like if you liked it, and I would say hit dislike if you don't like it, but you know what would really show me? Oh, it would show me so good. If you did not like this video, dude, if you hit the like button, that would confuse the mess out of me. So just hit the like button if you liked it. Hit it if you didn't like it. That'll really throw me out. That's a good one. You're good. You're good. Okay, I need to get out of here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care, guys.